The Girl in the Rain. It was a cold, rainy night. The kind of night where even animals hide. The sky was dark, and the wind was sharp like tiny knives. James, a quiet man in his 30s, was driving home through the forest road. His car heater wasn't working well, and his favorite radio station was full of static. He just wanted to reach home, eat something warm, and sleep. Then he saw her, a girl, sitting alone at the side of the road. No umbrella, no jacket, soaking wet. She looked about 18 or 19. Her arms were wrapped around her knees, and her long black hair stuck to her face. She was barefoot. She didn't even look up as the car passed. James slowed down. He wasn't the kind of man to get involved. But something about her, something strange, made him stop. He reversed the car, rolled down the window, and called out, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need help?" The girl slowly looked up. Her eyes were wide and strange. Too wide, like she had seen things no one should see. She didn't answer. James got out, walked toward her, and took off his coat. "You'll freeze out here. Come on, let me help you." The girl didn't move at first. Then, like a robot waking up, she stood. Her legs shook. Her lips were blue from the cold. He helped her into the car. She didn't say a word the whole ride. Back at his small house, James gave her a towel, warm clothes, and soup. She just sat on the couch, holding the bowl but not drinking it. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She stayed silent. "Where are your parents? Are you from around here?" Still nothing. Just a long stare out the window at the sky, like she was waiting for something to appear. James sighed. "Okay, you don't have to talk. Just rest." He gave her a blanket and a pillow. She lay down on the couch, eyes still open. James went to his bedroom, but sleep didn't come easy. In the middle of the night, the lights flickered. Then they turned off completely. The heater stopped. The room went quiet. James sat up in bed. Then he heard a strange, soft humming, like electricity. But wrong. He walked out to the living room. The girl was still there, sitting now, staring at the wall. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. James froze. He blinked, looked again. The glow was gone. "I need to go," she said suddenly. It was the first time she spoke. James was shocked. Go? Go where? It's the middle of the night." "They're coming," she whispered. "They followed me here." "Who's coming? What are you talking about?" The girl stood, walked to the door, and placed her hand on the wood. She drew a symbol with her finger, but no pen or marker was in her hand. The lines glowed for a second, then faded. "This will slow them down," she said. James felt a chill run down his spine. "Are you in trouble? Is someone chasing you?" She turned to face him. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were full of fear. "They're not people, and they don't knock." Just then, his dog Rex started barking outside. Then, silence. No footsteps, no growls. Just quiet, too quiet. James opened the front door. Rex was gone. No sign, no prints, just the rain and the trees. He stepped back inside and locked the door. "Okay," he said, trying to stay calm. "Who exactly are you?" She looked at him for a long time. Then she said, "I'm not from here." James laughed nervously. "What? Like another country?" She shook her head. Then, outside the window, a light. Bright, quick, like lightning, but too low, too close, then gone. "They found me," she whispered. James backed up slowly. His heart was racing. "What are they?" he asked. She looked straight at him and said one word. "Hunters." "She doesn't sleep." James couldn't sleep. Not after what she said. Hunters? Not from here? And that light outside, it wasn't a dream. He knew what he saw. The girl, still nameless, sat silently on the couch. Her wet clothes were now dry, her eyes open. She hadn't blinked once in the last 10 minutes. He watched her from the hallway, half hidden. She wasn't normal. He felt it in his gut. She slowly turned her head toward him like she knew he was there, but her face didn't show emotion. No fear, no anger, just blank. "You should rest," she said without looking directly at him. "You're the one who should sleep," James replied. "It's been hours." She tilted her head slightly. "I don't sleep." He stepped into the room. "Okay, what does that mean? Like, Insomnia? I don't require sleep, she said calmly. My body repairs itself during light exposure. Your sun helps. James didn't answer. His mind was racing. The way she talked, it wasn't just strange. It was clinical, cold, like a machine that learned to speak human. That morning, he checked on Rex. His dog never came back. He searched the woods. No prints, no fur, no blood, just gone, like he was erased. James returned to the house, heart heavy, mind full of questions. The girl was now standing in front of the living room mirror, but she wasn't looking at her reflection. She was talking to it. I didn't mean to bring him into this, she whispered. James stopped at the doorway. Talking to yourself now? She flinched. For the first time, she looked guilty. You're not safe anymore, she said softly. Because of you? She turned to face him. Because of them. Later that day, James decided to check the security camera. He had a simple motion sensor cam outside his front door. It records movement. It should have caught that flash of light. He opened the footage from last night, 11:43 p.m. He saw himself walk to the door, look around. But the girl wasn't. In the footage, she wasn't there. He checked other times. Earlier, later, she never showed up on the camera, like she didn't exist. But something else did. At 2:14 a.m., the camera glitched, just for 2 seconds. But in those 2 seconds, a tall, thin shape appeared, standing just at the edge of the forest. Glowing eyes, no mouth, no nose, just watching, then gone. James rewound it 3 times, hoping it was a glitch, hoping it was some reflection. It wasn't. He closed his laptop with a shaking hand. That night, James dreamed, but not of his own life. He saw stars he didn't recognize, a planet with purple oceans. He saw a tower, taller than clouds, and children floating above the ground, laughing, then fire, screaming, ships crashing, the girl small, scared, hiding in a pod. Then everything went dark. James woke up, covered in sweat, heart racing, and she was there, sitting at the foot of his bed. I'm sorry, she said. For what? You saw them. My memories. I didn't mean to share. James stared at her. How did I see your memories? She looked away. We connected. When I touched the door. Connected? His voice cracked. You mean like psychic? Or telepathic? Or bonded? He sat up straight. You're saying I'm bonded to you now? She nodded. Part of me is inside you. It's why you're feeling different. Different. He had been feeling strange. His headache from last night was gone in minutes. His back pain vanished. His body felt lighter, like gravity had loosened its grip. Are you changing me? I already have, she said softly. Later, she began drawing strange shapes on his walls. With her finger, no pen, no paint, just glowing blue trails that vanished after a few seconds. What are those? Wards, she said. They hide us. But only for a while. James looked out the window. The trees didn't feel safe anymore. Around midnight, he heard the sound. A low humming, like a giant electric wire, was vibrating through the earth. It came from deep in the forest. The girl stood up quickly. They're scanning. We must not respond. James turned off the lights. He could feel it, a pressure, like something huge moving just beyond the trees. Why are they chasing you? He whispered. Because I left, she said. And because of what I took. What did you take? She paused. Hope. Then knock, knock. A sudden knock at the door. Not loud. Not soft. Just wrong. The girl froze. Don't open it. James whispered. Who would knock if they're not people? The knock came again. 2 slow taps. Then silence. He looked through the peephole. Nobody was there. He opened the door. Just a crack. On the ground was a piece of paper, wet from the rain. He picked it up. No words. Just a symbol. The same one the girl had drawn on his door last night. Except this one was burned into the paper. The memories that aren't his. James stared at the burned symbol in his hand. Same as the one she drew. But this wasn't glowing light. It was scorched into soaked paper. How did it burn and stay dry at the same time? He looked at the girl. She didn't blink. They're marking you now, she whispered. It means they've made contact. With who? James asked, voice low. She looked out the window, where the trees rustled in the windless night. Not with you, she said. With the version of you they left behind. James didn't understand. Not really, but he didn't like the way that sounded. The version they left behind? The next morning, James woke up disoriented. He hadn't remembered falling asleep. He dreamt again, but this time, it was worse. Darker. He was running through a metal hallway, walls shaking, sirens blaring. Behind him, shadows crawled across the floor. Not walking, slithering, eating light. He opened a hatch and launched into space alone. Terrified, but not surprised. Like he'd done it before. He saw a planet burning behind him. Then, he saw her floating beside him. The girl, but older, and smiling. Then he woke up. In his bed, sweating, breathing hard. But something was off. His blanket was folded, his room was clean, and the girl was gone. James stood up and noticed something else, his old knee pain. The one from the motorcycle accident 5 years ago? Gone. No stiffness, no limp. He touched his arm. A scar that had been there since childhood, it had faded overnight. His body felt upgraded. Like someone hit the reset button. He went into the living room. No sign of her, but on the mirror, where she stood the night before, was a glowing blue handprint, and a sentence, written in perfect English. You are remembering too fast. Slow down. Panicking now, James rushed outside. The forest was quiet to quiet. No birds, no wind. The trees stood like statues, like they were listening. Then he saw something near the shed. A footprint. Not his, not hers either. Too big, too deep. The weight behind it had to be massive. He followed it slowly, heart pounding. 5 steps into the woods, he found something impossible. Another piece of paper, hanging from a branch. He grabbed it. It was a photo of himself standing in his kitchen. This kitchen, with her, smiling. Only, it wasn't taken from inside. It was taken from outside. Through the window, he dropped it and backed away. Someone, or something was watching them. James ran back into the house. The girl was there again, standing in front of the door, as if nothing happened. Where were you? He shouted. I had to go, she said calmly. You can't just disappear like that. I can't stay in one place too long. They track movement. James rubbed his temples. You said I'm remembering. What does that mean? You saw the ship, she said. The one you escaped from in your dreams? He nodded slowly. That wasn't a dream. James felt cold. You said you're changing me. That I'm bonded. That I have part of you inside me. I didn't give it to you, she said, stepping closer. You already had it. I just activated it. James laughed nervously. Oh, perfect. So now what? I'm half alien? Her silence was the loudest answer. Later that day, the doorbell rang. James froze. Nobody ever came out here. His cabin was deep in the woods. He peeked through the peephole. A man in a black suit stood outside, clean-shaven, sunglasses, smiling. Next to him another man, same suit, no smile, holding a metal briefcase. James opened the door only halfway. Can I help you? The smiling man nodded politely. Hello, Mr. Carter. We're with the Department of Environmental Hazards. Routine check. James blinked. What? Since when? The man held up a fake-looking ID. Too clean, too shiny, like it was made 5 minutes ago. The second man spoke, his voice deep and robotic. We received reports of radiation leaks. Have you seen any unusual weather or creatures in the area? James tried to stay calm. Nope, all quiet here. The smiling man leaned forward slightly. Mind if we take a quick look inside? Before James could answer, the girl appeared behind. No, she said flatly. You are not welcome. The 2 men froze. For just a second, their eyes flickered, not blinked, flickered, like light bulbs. Thank you for your time, the smiling one said quickly. They turned and walked away. James watched them through the window. They didn't get in a car. They walked into the woods and disappeared. That night, James looked in the mirror. His eyes were changing. The color was brighter. His pupils dilated and contracted like camera lenses. The girl sat across the room, cross-legged, watching him. You're Adapting faster than expected, she said. James stared at her reflection. Why me? You were chosen, she said. Long ago. For what? To survive. And to help others do the same. James laughed bitterly. I don't even know what's real anymore. She stood and walked toward him, placing her hand gently on his chest. You will, she whispered. But first, you must remember what they did to you. And with that, images flashed again. Not dreams. Downloads. He saw himself as a child, but in a lab, not a house. He saw creatures with glowing hands, placing something in his body. He saw Earth from orbit, and a voice. His own voice, older, stronger, full of power. Protect the seed. Don't let them erase us. James fell to the floor, gasping. When he opened his eyes, he whispered, What am I? The girl crouched beside him. You're not a soldier, she said. You're the last archive of a species they destroyed. The hunters arrived the days after the black suits came were quiet. Too quiet. And no birds. No wind. Even the usual buzzing of insects had stopped. The forest felt like it was holding its breath. James could barely sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, the memories returned, planets crumbling, beings screaming in a language he almost understood, and the same tower in every dream. A black spire floating in space, pulsing like a heartbeat. The girl, still no name, watched him constantly. Calm, still, like she was studying his evolution. You're sinking faster, she said. One night, it's accelerating. James rubbed his eyes. Accelerating into what? She didn't answer. That morning, James drove into town. It had been weeks since he left the cabin, and he needed supplies and maybe some sense of normal. But the town wasn't normal anymore. The gas station attendant, Carl, usually a loudmouth, just stared at him in silence as he paid for fuel. Didn't blink, didn't smile. James walked into the general store. The shelves were full. The place smelled like lemon air freshener and old wood. But the people inside were off. A little girl stood in the candy aisle, not moving, not speaking, just staring straight ahead. The man at the counter spoke in a monotone voice. Hello, Mr. Carter. Nice weather, isn't it? James hadn't told him his name, and it was raining outside. Back at the cabin, he told the girl what he saw. They're here, she said flatly. They're already inside. Inside what? Your system, your town, your species. James sat down slowly. You mean, they're copying people? Not copies, she said. Shells, wrapped in skin, controlled from outside. James felt sick. So, how do I know who's real? She looked at him. You don't, but they know who you are. That night, she drew new symbols on the windows. This time, they were red. The glow pulsed like a warning. They're circling now, she said. They won't attack yet, but they want you to run. Why? Because they fear you, and they fear what you might remember. James leaned against the wall, hands shaking. You keep saying that. What did I forget? She turned to him. You were one of them. Once. His heart stopped. You were a hunter, she said softly, until you broke the cycle. The next day, the first body turned up. It was found near the old quarry. A hiker, face pale, eyes gone completely black. Not bruised, not missing, just gone. The sheriff called it a wild animal attack. Except there were no wounds, just a circle burned into the man's chest. Same symbol, the one from the door, from the paper, from the girl. James stayed inside for the next 24 hours. He was changing. His vision was sharper. He could hear things, distant sounds, subtle frequencies. The radio buzzed even when it was turned off. His hands sometimes sparked when he got emotional. Once, the lights exploded just because he sneezed. You're not human anymore, she told him. But that doesn't mean you're not you. He stared at his hands. What do they want from me? Not want. Need, she said. You're the last copy of data they can't erase. That night, the power went out. No flicker. Just gone. The woods lit up with tiny blue lights like fireflies, but moving in perfect patterns. Circling, and in the middle of the trees. Them. Tall, humanoid figures. Pale, hairless, and smooth. No eyes. Just skin over where eyes should be. Mouth stitched shut. They didn't walk. They glided. The girl stepped outside. barefoot on wet ground, calm as a monk. James followed, shaking. "What are they?" he whispered. She didn't look at him. "Drones. Scanners. They smell data, and they smell you." The drone stopped at the edge of the trees. Then, one raised a hand. The world shook. James fell to the ground as a deep, bass sound vibrated through his bones. It wasn't noise, it was language, and somehow, he understood it. "Return the archive. You were not authorized," James shouted back without thinking. "This data is mine now." The girl turned and looked at him impressed. "You spoke their tongue," she said. "Good. I didn't mean to," James said. "It just happened. That's because it was always inside you." Then, the worst moment of all, his phone buzzed. A video message. No number, no sender. He opened it. It was him. James, standing in the woods, but his clothes were different. He had a scar James didn't have. His voice was colder. "Hello, me," the other James said on the screen. "They let me go so I could help you remember." James dropped the phone. The girl picked it up, watched it, unbothered. "He's the clone," she said. "Your original self. The one you left behind." James stared at her. "So what does that make me?" She looked at him, serious. "The version that chose free will." Inside the house, everything flickered. Then the black suits returned. They didn't knock this time. They walked through the front door like it wasn't there. The wood burned where they touched it. James backed away. "You have 10 minutes, the taller one said. "Return the passenger." The girl stepped forward. "He is no longer carrying me." The man paused. "Then he must be deleted." James raised his hand, half in defense, half in instinct, and something exploded. Not a fire, not a weapon, a pulse of light. It threw the black suits out the door and knocked trees down for 50 feet. James stared at his own hands. They glowed. The girl smiled for the first time. "Welcome back," she said. The message in the sky, the blast that sent the black suits flying, had left a crater in front of the cabin. James didn't remember raising his hand. He didn't even try to stop them. The light came out of him like it was just waiting for permission. He stood in the silence afterward, staring at his glowing fingers. His veins shimmered faintly beneath his skin. His heartbeat echoed in his ears, not just as a sound, but as a rhythm, almost like a signal. The girl stepped up beside him. "The firewall's broken now," she said quietly. James blinked. "Firewall?" She nodded. "The part of your mind that was blocking the truth. The pulse broke it." James turned to her, still breathless. "So what now?" She looked up at the sky. "Now, we listen." That night, the stars began to blink. One by one. It wasn't fast. It wasn't random. It was a pattern. James sat on the cabin roof, wrapped in a blanket, eyes wide, watching constellations flicker like Morse code. "The message is coming through now," she said. Sitting beside him, he stared. "What are they saying?" She closed her eyes, then she whispered, translating the blinking lights. "Location confirmed. Vessel awakened. Stand by for retrieval." James sat up. "Retrieval? You mean someone's coming?" She opened her eyes. They were glowing again. Softly this time. "They were always coming. I just didn't know when." He ran a hand through his hair. "So what does this mean? They're coming to save us?" Her face didn't move. "No, they're coming to collect you." The next morning, James walked outside and saw something terrifying. The trees were gone. Not cut, not burned, just missing, as if they had been erased from reality. Left behind was a perfect circle of dead ground. A ring. He counted the days. It had been 5 days since the hunters appeared. 5 days since he began changing. He found another footprint. Near the circle. Human, but familiar. His own. Except he hadn't been there. The girl came out behind him. "Your other self is close," she said. "He's watching." James turned. "You mean the one from the video? The original?" She nodded. "He knows the retrieval code is active. He'll want to stop it." "Why?" "Because if you go back to the ship," she paused, "you'll remember everything, and he won't exist anymore." James stared at the sky all day. He couldn't stop looking at it. The stars weren't just blinking now, they were moving. Well, shifts. tiny wobbles, like the entire sky was rearranging itself. That night, a low hum began, faint, like a distant machine, but constant. It vibrated through his bones. He stood outside again. No clouds, just stars. Too many stars, too bright. Then a beam, not from the sky, from him. His chest began glowing. The girl looked at him with calm intensity. "It's the beacon," she said. "You've been activated." He panicked. "Can I turn it off?" "No," she said. "It's older than your memories. Older than Earth." James stepped back. "Why me? Why was I chosen?" "You weren't chosen," she said. "You volunteered." Flashback memory unlocked. James saw himself in a white chamber, wearing a strange suit, surrounded by other beings, some human-like, others impossible to describe. He was saying goodbye, not to people, to planets. He was part of something called the Archive, a living record of dying civilizations. "You agreed to carry their data." The girl's voice echoed in his head. "To become the seed, the last hope, in case everything else burned." Back on Earth, James dropped to his knees in the dirt. "It was supposed to be temporary," she said softly. "But when they attacked the archive ship, we crashed, and your mind sealed itself to protect what was inside." The humming grew louder, then it stopped. Complete silence, the kind that hurts your ears. Then, the sky changed. A long, shimmering object appeared hidden in plain sight, now slowly decloaking. It was massive. A ship. No engines, no windows, just a smooth silver crescent hanging above the earth like a silent moon. James stared up. "They're here." The girl nodded. "Yes, but what do they want me to do?" She stepped closer. "To choose." Just then gunfire, from the woods. James ducked as bullets hit the ground near him. He turned and saw the shooter, himself, the clone. The other James. His face was furious, eyes glowing too but red. "You're not going anywhere." "The other," James shouted. The girl stepped in front of James. "He's unstable," she said. "He didn't survive the crash well." "You think you're the real one?" the clone yelled. "They left me behind." "Not you. I didn't ask for any of this," James said, standing tall now. "But I'm not going to let you stop me from knowing the truth." The clone lunged. They fought, brutal, fast, and strange. The two were matched perfectly. Punches echoed like thunder. Sparks flew where they touched. The girl watched silently until James pinned the clone to the ground. "You're me," he whispered. "But I'm not you anymore." The clone smiled, then said something terrifying. "You still don't remember what's inside you, do you?" And then his eyes burst with light. The clone self-destructed, vaporizing in James's arms, but not before passing something into him. Another memory. Another download. James screamed, pain exploding behind his eyes. He fell to the ground, convulsing. The girl rushed to him, placing both hands on his chest. And then, silence. He opened his eyes. The world looked different. He could see heat, electricity, particles in the air. Time itself seemed to breathe. The ship above glowed in greeting. And then, a voice not hers spoke inside his mind. A voice older than Earth, older than language. "You are the carrier. You are the key. If you return, the archive will live again. If you refuse, this planet dies with you." James sat up slowly. "So, I'm the choice." The girl nodded. "You are the last answer to a question they never stopped asking. Becoming something else." The ship above the forest didn't make a sound. It didn't have to. Its presence was loud enough. Silver, seamless, massive, just hanging there like a paused heartbeat. Even the air beneath it felt different, like it was vibrating with secrets. James stood in the clearing, glowing faintly, breathing in starlight like oxygen. His body was no longer just human, and he could feel it. Everything had changed since the other James, the unstable clone, exploded into light and memory. Now, the archive was fully unlocked. He remembered. Not everything, but enough. Enough to know that the Earth wasn't a sanctuary. It was a vault. Back inside the cabin, the girl watched James closely. "You're stabilizing," she said. "Good." James rubbed his chest. He could feel circuits where veins used to be. Information flowed through him like blood. I remember the tower, he said softly. The one in the dreams, she nodded. That's where the key is stored. He looked up at her, suddenly cold. You said I carried the archive. You do. But there's more, isn't there? A long pause. Then she said, yes. You're not just the carrier, James. You're the failsafe. Flashbacks came in quick flashes. A war above Saturn, ending in silence. Species reduced to nothing by something called the null path. A council, 12 voices, all looking at James, all agreeing the hunters reach Earth. We cannot let them use it. He wasn't just chosen to remember, he was chosen to decide. Later that night, the girl led James to a part of the forest he'd never seen. Trees bent away from a single path, literally leaning away, like they didn't want to touch what was buried. At the end of the trail, an old church, abandoned, collapsed. But James could feel something underneath it. They stepped inside. Moonlight cut through the broken roof. At the altar, a hole small, circular, clean, not dug, not made, grown. James looked at her. What is this? This is where it began, she said. The first signal landed here. Before humans even had language. She stepped down into the hole. James followed. Below the church was something alien. A smooth, silver chamber buried like a fossil. Lights hummed along the walls, responding to James's breath. He felt drawn toward the center. There, floating cube hovered, spinning gently. Its surface showed stars that didn't exist anymore. The cube spoke, not out loud. Inside him, carrier confirmed. DNA matched. Energy stabilized. Protocol echo. James blinked. What's protocol echo? The cube pulsed. In event of archive compromise, activate echo. Burn the vault. Reset the data. Begin again. James stumbled backward. Burn? You mean Earth? The girl didn't meet his eyes. You were the backup, James, she whispered. The last reset button. Silence. The kind that wraps around your soul like a cold hand. James stepped away from the cube. So you're telling me, if the hunters win, I'm supposed to destroy the planet? Not destroy, she said. Reboot. Same thing. No, reboot means rebuild. If they get Earth, they can rewrite every species you carry. Recode reality. The archive isn't just history, it's instructions. You hold the blueprints for entire civilizations. James backed up. And no one thought to ask me if I wanted that job? You did ask, she said gently. You just don't remember saying yes. Suddenly a sound, low, deep, like a mountain waking up. Then came the shaker, not an earthquake, a descent. James rushed out of the chamber. Above ground, the forest was moving, trees bending, dirt folding like paper, and the ship, the silver one in the sky, was now opening. A light beamed down, but it wasn't on James. It was on her. She stepped into it. Calm, peaceful. I sent the signal days ago, she said. They finally answered. James watched, confused. I thought you were hiding. Was, she said. But then I met you, he frowned. And I remembered what we started. I remembered why we came. The beam pulsed, and suddenly, her skin shimmered. Not just light layers peeled away. What stood before James now wasn't human, not fully. Tall, luminous, limbs just slightly too long, hair floating like it was underwater. She looked at James with a new face. Alien. Yes, but still her. I wasn't running from the war, she said. I was preparing the one who could win it. Then the sky cracked. Not thunder, a tear, black and red lightning tore across the horizon. The hunters were here, but not in ships. They came as a wave of unreality. They stepped out of folds in the air, dozens of them. Tall, pale, eyeless, no mouths, just hunger. The girl floated higher. It's time, she said. James looked up. For what? For you to choose, she replied. Go with them, or stay and fight. James looked at the ship. It was safety, knowledge, peace. He looked at the ground. It was chaos, war, death. But it was home. He stepped back from the beam. The girl stared. James, I'm not leaving Earth, he said. Not while they're still standing on it. Her eyes glowed with sadness and pride. You've changed. I became what I was meant to. B, James said. Not a button, not a vault, not a backup. He turned to face the hunters, his body crackling with energy. I became something else. The ground split open as the first wave charged. James raised his hand, and the sky answered. Lightning white, bright, silent slammed into him and through him. His body became a beacon, a weapon, a signal. He screamed not in pain, but in power. And then, he ran at them. The last stand, it began with a choice, and now it would end with one. James stood in the middle of the clearing, his skin glowing with alien circuitry, his breath steaming with energy. Around him, the world bent, gravity pulsing in and out, light folding like taffy. Above, the archive ship hovered like a silent moon. Ahead, the hunters were coming, not running, gliding. They moved in unison, tall and terrible, wrapped in black fabric that didn't move in the wind. Their faces were smooth, featureless. Their bodies shimmered like they were halfway between existing and not. There were hundreds now, maybe thousands, and they were all coming for him. The girl, now fully revealed in her alien form, watched from above in the beam of light. Her body shimmered with colorless energy, and her voice came like thunder in his thoughts. They won't stop, not until the archive is silenced. James clenched his fists. Then let's make some noise. He stepped forward. The hunters reacted, splitting formation, surrounding the forest, circling like sharks. From behind their ranks, something else emerged, taller, broader, cloaked in pure static. The hunter prime. Its voice was not sound, it was absence. Silence that pressed into your skull and forced your brain to make words. You were meant to preserve, not to defy. Return the core, and this world may remain mostly whole. James stared at it. No, pause. Then the ground screamed. The first wave hit hard. Dozens of hunters moved like liquid shadows, slamming into James at once. He raised his hands, light exploded. A shockwave burst out from him, vaporizing the first attackers. Trees snapped like toothpicks. Air shimmered. Still more came. They piled on, pushing him to his knees. Hands like frozen steel grabbed his throat, his chest, his mind. Too much weight, a voice inside him warned. Power not stabilized. His vision blurred. The girl's voice cut through. Let go of what you were. Become what you are. James focused. He remembered the tower. He remembered the war. He remembered the command. He whispered it. Echo Prime. Activate. The world froze. Just for a second, then everything changed. His body lifted into the air. Circles of light spun beneath his feet. His skin turned silver, not metallic but encoded. Symbols danced across his arms and chest, shifting constantly. Time itself slowed down around him. The hunters moved sluggishly now, their speed nullified by his field. James extended his hand and tore the sky open. Not literally, but a rift appeared like a holographic scar. Through it, voices poured, the voices of extinct civilizations. We were the rain builders. We made suns out of sand. We are the archive, and he is our final hope. James slammed the rift shut, sending a pulse into the hunters. Half their army collapsed instantly, turning to dust that floated up into the sky like reverse snow. But the hunter prime remained unaffected, unbothered. It stepped forward, each stride warping the world like a black hole wrapped in skin. James fired a beam of light, pure memory, pure truth, straight into its chest. Nothing. The prime lifted one hand, and James's body locked in place. The air thickened. His heartbeat stopped. You are still made of fear, it said. You remember loss. That is your flaw. And then the girl dropped. She fell from the beam like a meteor, slamming into the ground between James and the prime. Her voice was no longer calm. It was war. You erased my world, my family, my future. She raised her arms, and the ship above answered, firing a focused pulse directly into her body. She became light, not blinding, just perfect. She reached toward James. Together, he reached back. The moment their hands touched, the world split. Not destroyed, rewritten. Suddenly, James stood in a city of glass, floating, silent. The girl stood beside him, calm. This is the real archive, she said. Buried in your DNA, hidden in memory. The towers glowed with knowledge. Data pulsed through every surface like veins. This is what the Prime wants, she said. Not your power, your memory. If he gets in here, he can undo everything, every civilization, every timeline. James looked around. Then we stop him here, she nodded. From the inside, the Prime appeared in the city. It took form, tall, skeletal, glowing with dark fire, and it spoke. Again, no more running, no more resistance. James closed his eyes and gave the archive one final command. Release the lock. The towers burst. Every building collapsed, not destroyed, but transformed into armor. The archive wore James like a suit, not controlling him, empowering him. The final evolution of being, not of flesh, not of machine, but of history itself. They fought in the archive for what felt like hours, days, years. Every punch James landed brought a voice with it. We were the Sky Thieves. We wrote our names in the sun. We did not die. We became legend. The Prime howled, cracking under the weight of truth. James grabbed it by the throat. You wanted the archive? He said. You forgot one thing. It remembers everything. And then he let it in. For just 1 second. And the Prime saw all of it. Billions of lives. Billions of deaths. All the beauty. All the failure. All the hope. And it couldn't handle it. It broke. When James awoke, he was back in the clearing. The sky was blue. The trees stood tall again. The ship was gone. The girl sat beside him, human once more. It's over, she whispered. James looked at his hands. And oh, glowed. And oh, light. Just hands. He smiled. Good. She turned to him. They'll come again. You know. But next time, she said. You won't be alone. James looked up at the stars. They blinked softly. A warning. Thank you.